Good morning everyone, welcome back to the channel. You can see we've got the old Meta glasses on. Absolutely love it, both hands free. Right guys, just received our pistons here for the Triumph Spitfire. So I just thought I would run you through what we've got here. Obviously I was waiting for these pistons. I've bored the block and I was waiting for these to check what running clearance I need to do. Now the instructions, these are a county piston. Anyone in this game knows that you've got to be a little bit careful with county pistons. Although they do look very good and they can be brilliant, but you've just got to double check all your running clearances and the overall quality, as you do with a lot of aftermarket stuff, I know. So these are a bit of an oddball size in the Triumph Spitfires. They are not a round figure, so I thought, being that and also being county, you never know what they do with the aftermarket stuff. So what we've got here in the spec sheet or in the box is the piston number, so you've just got to make sure that you check the piston box number, and then it gives you a running clearance in inches. So we've got 1.5 thou to 2 thou, so we're going to go on the generous side of 2 thou, and what it's saying is 90 degrees to the pin. So obviously you've got the pin here, so across this area here, about 5 or 10 mil down. You've just got to double check to make sure that this skirt here is not sort of too much pointing outwards like that, or tapered should I say. So probably about 5 mil down, you measure across there, and then what you do is you literally just add 2 thou onto that. So that's what I've done with the micrometer, guys, and I've set the bore gauge to that. We've got the piston rings here, so I've got them laid out from oil control ring, second ring to first ring. But one thing I just want to show you about these pistons, look, is if you notice, I don't know whether you can see down there, but be very careful with this, you've got an offset pin. Now if we measure that pin from one side 49 mil to the other side, which is 46 mil, so we've got 3 mil of difference, so that is a millimetre and a half offset. And the reason for that is, what they probably find is with these pistons, because they're a short skirt, the pin is close to the bottom of the skirt, and you probably find that they're more susceptible to slap. So what that offset pin does is, when the piston is coming up to TDC, it transfers obviously the piston is being pushed to the bore that way, and obviously when it comes over TDC, the transfer skips from that side to the thrust on this side. So what it does when it's offset, it just basically makes that transfer gradual, to give it less slap, thus basically giving less wear, less bore wear, less piston skirt wear, just really less susceptible to slap. So it's just literally offset. You'll find that when it comes up to sort of TDC, the piston is sort of almost on its way down, so that transfer is just a bit more gradual than when it's right at the top going from one side to the next, and that's when you can get a bit of a noise, bit of a slap, and obviously excess wear. So that's what they do on the Triumph Spitfires, guys. So we're just going to head over to the hone now. I'm going to measure the bores as they are after being bored and how much I've got to take out of them. So guys, we've got our very old but trusty micrometer, and this is a 2 to 3 mic, and I have set this to what the piston measures. So the piston is measuring 2 inches, this is obviously imperial, 2.9275, and what we're going to do is add 2 thou onto that, because that's what let's give us, from 1.5 to 2 thou. I always go on the larger side, and then I've set our the bore gauge. So all the bore gauge is a transfer from what it says on this micrometer to what you are measuring the bore to, or what the bore's got to go to. So we've got a series of little feet here, and we've got 4 spacers, so you can, no matter what we've got or what the measurement is, you can go from 2 to 4 plus inches. And then we've got an extension which takes us, that's a 2-inch extension, which takes us then from 4 to 6 odd. So we've used a series of spacers and the foot we want. We've put the boring bar in between there and basically set it on 0. So if we head over here, you can see we've set the block up on the hone here. That's what I mean. That foot is in there, and what I've set it to is, you can see we've got a small hand which goes to in between 2 and 3 and the 0, and that is what it's set to on our micrometer, and that will read exactly what we want. So we know that when we get to that exact measurement there, the bores are what we want. So it's plus 2 thou on top of the piston skirt size. So if we now measure the bore as they are, this is unhoned, that is where it's got to end up, and we are plus 4.5 thou. So we've got 4.5 thou to come out. We always see we've got 4 at the bottom, so we've got a little bit of inconsistency, but we always measure top, middle and bottom. And yeah, so I always measure it before, so we sort of know how tapered that is. We've got a bit of a 1/2 thou taper, so we know we need to take out a little bit more at the top as opposed to the bottom. So what we do, guys, we set first of all, we sort of set the stones up. We've got 2 stones here, one opposing each other. These are the fine stones, and then we've got some guides at 90 degrees to those stones. What we do is put them in loosely, and we set it up so you can see that is just touching the web down the bottom. So that is the top of the main bearing web, and then what we do is we just wind this little thing down here, and that is our stop, and we do it so it's just literally come off the top of the main web, so we know that we're not going to hit that. So when we go down to the stop now, it's not hitting anything, and that means we're not going to break any stones. Next thing we do is set the coolant pipe up, and I always set it to this side so it goes in the direction of the stones, and that means it's not going to splash to hell all over my legs. Also, what we have to do is make sure that the hone is upright as possible in comparison to the bore, and not sort of over here, because it'll end up taking more out of one side of the bore than the other. And then we obviously clamp it down with these little clamps here. So what we do, first of all, set it going with no pressure on the stones and wait till we get some coolant out, so there's no material being removed there at all. Then what we do is we just literally engage that, put a little bit of pressure on, and it's literally feel on this, you can feel it. And we just go up and down until we get a nice even, to start with. Usually, even when it's been bored and the boring bar is pretty accurate, you can normally feel where the bore's got inconsistencies through the stones. It's sort of wobbling a bit. So we just do a light cut till it's all consistent and we know that those bores are true. And we take the pressure off, lift it out and give it a little measure. You see already we've removed about nearly 2 thou out of that, just with a little bit of pressure. That is because it's an old block, it's lovely soft cast iron, and it machines lovely. You find with newer blocks, the cast iron's not the same, and it won't remove anything like that with just a light cut. Well guys, the 2 litre wet belt, the good old wet belt transit engine, is nearly back together. This one is one that Isaac and I have turned around fairly sharpish for a friend of ours. It wasn't what we expected. We expected it to come in with the belt gone because the thing wouldn't turn over. It was apparently locked solid. Don't know whether that's a starter motor issue or something had gone in from the turbo. There was no bent valves. There was no evidence of something going in one of the ports and blocking up a valve enough for it to not turn over. So it's one of those things where I'm not quite sure what happened there. All the cam gear is okay, the cam box up there, so the customers give us the go ahead to reuse that. We've visibly checked it next to a brand new one down at Ultra Parts and it looks absolutely perfect. Obviously everything else is pretty much new. We've got new rings and the bores were perfect, the pistons were perfect, we've put new bearings in it, new timing kit, all the rest of it, obviously gone through the head and replaced all the gaskets. Little bit of a mystery, that one. Anyway guys, moving on to the Mk1 Escort. Last night my father-in-law and I took the Escort to Tipton Garage on the trailer to have its mapping session, which was today. Stephen rings me up about an hour ago and gives me the glad tidings that he's managed to sort out the fueling, etc. on the map. He said it was about 35% too much. So he said, I don't know whether that base map was meant for a bigger injector or something like that, or smaller injector, something like that. He said, but he had to take about 35% fuel out. He was massively over fueling. But he said he's got it pretty sorted up to about 2.5, 3 grand. But always happens on your own engine, doesn't it? The amount of engines we do. He said it's not sounding, not mechanically, sounds okay mechanically, but it's just not running as sweet as he'd like. He said something seems a little bit strange. He's done a cylinder leak down test, and he said it's only losing about 10%. Obviously, there's no miles on this thing. We've got to run it in. But he's done a compression test, and he said the centre 2 are down to about 60%. So there's something going on weird there, guys. So he said he's got it, he thinks he's got it well enough to sort of, when it's sorted, to maybe drive around a bit, see if it's all right, put some miles on. He said when I go and pick it up, he's going to run me through the software and a few things so we can sort of get it running okay for me to run around in, so I don't have to take it back immediately. But he did say I would have a look into that engine. Some things don't seem quite right, and obviously it's a higher compression engine. We should be up at least, even before it's running, up about 150, 160, potentially 180 eventually, but down at 60, something ain't right there, guys. I know when we built the engine, looking back now, we stuck it in the car and we put the old carbs back on it, didn't we? Tried to get it running, couldn't get it running. I got a feeling one of those carbs has hosed in fuel somehow. Maybe it sat around the rings, because obviously it was sitting stationary for quite some time. Don't know. Gonna have to look into it, guys. It's a project car. I've got to look on the optimistic side. If it wasn't a project car and you didn't always have projects on it, it would just be a car. And what fun is that, eh? So yeah, really looking forward to getting it back. Probably going to go up tomorrow, get it back, get the old meta glasses on, do a few tests, maybe pull the cylinder head off. Don't know. Could have the thing out and all stripped up down again, guys. Ain't got a clue as yet, but we just want to make sure everything's good and safe. And obviously, I sort of half expected a phone call saying not everything's gone sweetly. Only reason is because we've done so much work to it. Obviously, I did all the loom, but actually, I don't think there was any problem with the loom, so that's good news. But yeah, we'll get it back, guys, and hopefully in the next video, you'll see a bit more on what could be potentially wrong with the Mk1 Escort. Who knows? Have a great evening. Cheers, guys.